We have all heard that it is a seller's market. There's definitely more buyers out there than there are homes to sell to them. But in spite all of that, sellers, I have to warn you, there's still a right and wrong way to list your home to maximize your profit and just maximize the experience. Now, buyers, I don't want you to tune me out quite yet either, because I still think it's good for you to hear what the seller's position is in all of this, and then also maybe what your competition is doing. So this is definitely a good video for both parties. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and I'm here to help. Happening in almost all markets throughout the United States. It is a hot seller's market. It's incredible. You hear of these crazy stories of homes selling way above list price, maybe with few or no contingencies. It's mind-blowing. But sellers, I want to share with you some of the better ways to handle this and maybe a few things to avoid. Number one, prepare your home for showings and that photography. Now, of course, you can still sell a house even if it's a hot mess, if it's priced well. But if you want to take advantage and become one of those wonderful statistics that you hear about where you do get these great offers, there's a little bit you need to do on your own up front, and that is really prepping your house. So that means deep cleaning, decluttering, putting things away, maybe even putting some things in storage or selling some things. Taking care of all of that is really important. Maybe making some minor repairs, doing some touch-up paint. You could also do some yard work on that curb appeal. I'll tell you, a little bit of work right now goes a really long way to maximize your profit, really. Then the next thing is make sure that your agent does professional photography. Don't just let them take pictures with a cell phone. Ask them about that up front before you sign on the dotted line, because they might say, hey, listen, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get offers. Well, you bet you are. But I'll tell you, good photography does make a huge difference. And let me tell you a couple of stories. Last year, I was going to list the house with a tenant in place. Now, the tenants were awesome. And I came in, we did the photography while the tenants were still there, while their furniture was there. They did a great job cleaning the house. They organized it. They were so helpful with everything. It was awesome. But we didn't list the house until after the tenants moved out. So then the home was vacant. Now, the reality of it is this home is an older home. It has its own bruises. It's a little beat up and needed some work. But that photography made all the difference. It was huge. So in the end, the sellers got way more money than what both I and they thought that they would, for sure. But really, it was because of that quality photography, because the house was prepped for it. Another story, right now I'm under contract with a house. I have the listing, and again, went through with the sellers. Okay, here's some things I'd like you to do. The house was already beautiful, but I just wanted to make sure everything was cleaned well, like the aluminum out at the lanai, the screen and stuff really needed cleaned, so they did everything I asked them to do. So that was great. Had the professional photographer come in. He did his thing. I actually did some drone photography because the home was on a golf course. So that really made it more special. Well, we listed it. The list price was a little aggressive. I was kind of nervous about it, but I talked about it with the sellers. We had a game plan to reduce the price if we thought it was too high, because we listed it for $45,000 over another home down the street that was pending, so we don't know the sale price on that yet, but that house down the street has a pool. Now, that home was updated. I don't think the materials were as nice as the house I have listed. It still has a nice view. I don't think the view is as nice as ours, but it was still a very nice home, very good home with a pool. So here we are, we listed it for $45,000 over. Well, the other home did not have professional photography done. It was just a handful, dozen or so pictures with a cell phone. Again, I had the professional come in, we did the drone, everything. It looked fabulous. Within the same day, we got an incredible offer for way more than any of us would have ever thought. And it's because of that photography. And here's what's also super important about that professional photography. We've got people looking from all over the country, really all over the world at these properties. People are putting in offers on homes without seeing them. I do it all the time. Now I'll go and take extra video for the buyers, things like that. But that's what's happening. So if you really want to maximize your dollar, maximize the number of offers you've got rolling in, getting that house prepped and getting photography done. Now here's the thing too, is sometimes it's a little overwhelming, especially if a house is a little bit more rough, it's like, well, at what point do I stop prepping the house? Well, that's when you get me to come in, you get your agent to come in and have that conversation, because you do have to draw a line. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a ton of money and time doing things, but I'll help work through that with you. So you're not doing too much, but you do need to do something. So that's why prepping that house is crucial. Number 2, disclose, disclose, disclose. This is a good follow-up from point number 1. Now, it's really important in any market, but especially in this market, that you disclose anything that you know about the property that could be negative, about the condition of the property. And you are required to do that. If you know about it, you should disclose it. If I know about it, I need to disclose it. Even if you don't want me to, I have to, because I have to protect my license. It's the right thing to do. So for instance, let's say you had a leaky kitchen sink faucet there and you fixed it. Well, go ahead and disclose that. Even though you made that repair, disclose it. Maybe sometimes on occasion you get a rat up in the attic, or you just, had some rats captured. It does happen sometimes here. Disclose that. Let's say you've got a funky window in a bedroom that doesn't open very well. Disclose it. Now, here's why you need to do that. Again, you need to do it no matter what, but in this market, you're going to really open yourself up to a potential lawsuit if you don't disclose something, because here you've got buyers who are paying a ton of money for your house, and in no way, shape, or form are they feeling like they're getting a deal. Right now, there's no deals for buyers, quote unquote deals. So once they move in, and the other thing too is maybe they're waiving the inspection or doing a quick and dirty inspection. They're not taking care of everything. And then they move into the house and they discover some things that they believe you should have known about and you didn't tell them. Okay, so here they're already paying a pile of money for your home. And then now they've got to deal with some problems that maybe you should have known and should have told them. So they could come after you, in the form of a lawsuit because of that. Now, maybe if somebody felt like they got a screaming deal on a house and they go, hey, I know this house is riddled with issues, I got a good price on it, fine. But right now, more than ever, you're definitely vulnerable for that. So be sure to disclose anything that you know about the house that can materially affect the value of the home, even if you've just repaired it, because just let people know what's going on, and that gives them peace of mind. You're still going to come out really strong. And in fact, I think if anything, a buyer's going to have more confidence in you as a seller if you're disclosing things, and they're going to feel a lot better about that purchase. So disclose any issues that you're aware of. Number 3, when do I list my home? I get this question all the time, even prior to it being a hot seller's market. Do I list it at the beginning of season? Do I list it at the end of season? Should I wait for the summertime? When do I list it? So this is kind of the question on the macro level, a bigger picture. I always tell people, list it when the time is right for you. Because even right now, it's a hot seller's market, and you think, well, maybe if I wait a little bit longer, I can get even more money for my house. That could very well be true. But interest rates are also creeping up, so that could impact the number of buyers looking at your house. So it could work against you. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So that's why I say list the house when the time is right for you. And then the second thing, kind of on a micro level, is when to list the house. Right now, because it is a hot seller's market, I do think there might be a better time of the week to list a house. Now, again, just getting on the market, just do it. If listing it on a Monday is the best time for you to do it, then just do it. But right now, I do recommend to sellers, if we could list it maybe on a Thursday or early on a Friday morning, that might be better, because then you've got folks who can see it on a weekday or possibly on the weekend if they're working. So it can maybe accommodate more people getting into the home to see it. So I think that that's a good thing. So you get it listed on a Thursday, and then, you can have it on the market Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So when to list it, just list it when the time is right for you. Don't wait to think that you've just touched on the perfect time. Number 4, before you sell your home, you need to know where you are going. Okay, so if this is a second home for you to sell, then it's not so much of a big deal. But if it's your primary residence, you need to know where you're going to be living next. I know it's a big thrill to be able to sell your house, you make a good amount of money on it, hopefully, and walk away with some cash. But if you don't have another place to live, you could end up maybe homeless. And a lot of people say, well, I'll just rent. Well, at least in our market right here, rentals are still at a premium. They're just as hard as buying a home. So you could end up spending all of the money that you just got, or a good chunk of the money you just earned off of selling that house, on a rental. And then of course, just like you had all these wonderful buyers putting in offers on your home, and that was exciting for you as a seller, well, to do that as a buyer can be a little frustrating. So you really need to watch yourself and have a game plan in regards to where you're going to go next. And those who are doing a 1031 exchange, if it's a rental property, it's kind of the same thing, because of course you have deadlines on how quickly you need to buy something else. And so that can be a little frustrating as well. So again, just know what risk you're taking in regards to that, so that you understand that if you don't find something else to buy, if you can't buy something, then you're going to be paying those capital gain taxes on that property that you just sold. So just know what you're getting yourself into before you do list the property. Have a game plan, be flexible. Number 5, set expectations. Now, I think setting expectations, regardless of what kind of market we're in, is really crucial to having a successful transaction. And I like to try to set expectations up front for both buyers and sellers. So sellers, let's talk about some things you can do to help with setting those expectations up front for the buyers and the buyers' agents. And let me also say too, as a seller and buyers, this is really important for you to know. The seller does get to kind of set this up. They're the ones to make the calls. It's not the agents that are doing it. I inform a seller and say, here are your choices. Now you decide what you want to do. They're definitely in control and they're in the driver's seat. So number 1, do you want to limit showings? So if you're not living in the home, if the property is vacant, this isn't such a big deal. But if you're living there, theoretically, you could have showings set up from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. Well, that's not a lot of fun. So unless you can go away for a long weekend or to go stay with somebody, that's not really doable to have people in and out of your house all day long for 12 hours. So this is what I recommend. Let's go back to the idea of putting the house on the market maybe on a Thursday afternoon. Then you can say, okay, we're going to have showings Thursday evening from 6 to 8. And then on Friday from 9 to 5 o'clock. Maybe you're away at work and that works for you. But then on Saturday and Sunday, okay, we're only going to do showings from 9 to 3 or something like that. So set those expectations up front, communicate that with your agent on what's going to work well for you and for the timing, so your life doesn't get too crazy. But again, at least it's only going to be for a few days. Theoretically, it shouldn't be for weeks on end. Number 2, do you want to sell the home as is or not? And there's definitely pros and cons to doing that. And I actually made a couple of videos. This was my early videos. And I'm going to drop links to that below. But talk about that with your agent, or depending on what state you're in, it could be a little different situation. But in the state of Florida, we have 2 contracts, one that's as is and one that isn't as is. So again, communicate that up front, which type of contract you prefer. Number 3, communicate what type of financing you are going to accept. So it could be cash, conventional loan, FHA loans, VA loans. There's a few sellers out there who say they only want cash. And sometimes if the condition of the house is really poor, really only cash is going to buy it anyhow. But for most homes, at a minimum, you can do conventional as well. Now, some people say they definitely don't want FHA or VA buyers. And then some people, hey, if you're a vet yourself or you appreciate what vets have done for us, you go, yeah, I mean, bring it on. I'll take a VA loan all day long. So again, communicate up front, set those expectations of what kind of offers you're willing to look at. Number 4, this is a big one right now. Do you want to set a deadline for offers, or do you just kind of want to keep it open? Right now, again, let's go back to that Thursday or Friday morning list time frame. Okay, so if the house goes on the market Thursday afternoon, you could say, all right, we're going to leave it on the market. I'm not going to look at offers until Monday. So I want your highest and best offers in by, let's say, 9 o'clock Monday morning or 10 o'clock Monday morning. I'm going to look at them, you as a seller, I'm going to look at them during the day, and we're going to let everybody know by, let's say, 5 o'clock that afternoon. So that's one way to do it up front. Now there's pros and cons to doing that as well. So that one house I just mentioned that I have under contract right now, I discussed these things with the sellers. I said, what would you like to do? In the end, it was decided that we weren't going to put a deadline on the property quite yet. But if, let's say, the house went on the market early Friday. So if we ended up getting a bunch of offers Friday night or Saturday morning, then maybe at that time they were going to say, okay, we're going to put a deadline deadline on that. And I'd have agents call me and say, Jill, is there a deadline on this one? I'll say, well, as of right now, no, but they could accept an offer at any time. And sure enough, this golden offer came in like 6 o'clock Friday night. The sellers couldn't sign the offer fast enough. So there's ways to handle that too. You can actually put a deadline on when you're going to take deadline for accepting offers for the seller to look at. Number 5, do you want to take escalation clauses? And there's pros and cons to that too. An escalation clause is an offer where, so let's say the offer is for $500,000, but then that buyer is saying, hey, listen, I will beat out anybody's offer by $1,500 or $2,000, and I'll go up to $560,000. So that's an escalation clause. So then the buyer isn't kind of like showing all their cards up front. They're just not going all the way up to 560 right away. They're just saying, hey, I'm willing to if that's what it takes. It's kind of like those eBay bids. And sometimes some sellers will say no escalation clauses. Sometimes it doesn't say anything about it. So that's something else you can do to set those expectations. Number 6, specifically outline anything that you do not want to stay in the home. Now, typically appliances stay: refrigerator, stove, dishwasher. If there's a microwave attached or mounted somewhere, of course, the garbage disposal, hot water heater. Every so often a seller will go, oh, I'll be willing to leave the appliances. And it's like, well, no, that's kind of understood that you're going to leave them. But the gray areas would be like the washer and dryer. Sometimes people don't take those. Maybe if there's a refrigerator or a freezer out in the garage, maybe that wouldn't, you do or don't want to leave it. So communicate that. Other things too are if TVs are mounted on the walls, you've got to say whether or not those TVs are going to stay or not. Sometimes fancier framed mirrors over sinks because those are mounted. If you want to take those, you need to convey that. Or even let's say there's a special chandelier somewhere or a light fixture. Honestly, I'd say just take it down and replace it before we even list the house. But things like that, you've got to think it through. Or let's say you have a really great refrigerator that you just bought and you love it. Well, if you really, really want that refrigerator, take it out, buy something else that's, still nice, stick it in its place, put the good refrigerator out in the garage and just say it doesn't convey. So set those expectations up front, because honestly, once we're under contract and you start changing those, people get frustrated really, really fast. And then number 7, is there a particular time you would like to close? So let's say that you've got a rental in place and it's going to be available April 1st. So just say, okay, listen, we can't close until after April 1st, or something like that. So set those expectations up front on what you need, and then that way the buyers, we're not changing things midstream. That's really a great thing to do. Number 6, love letters. Now, in the past, love letters was something that was a little bit more common, and a love letter is a letter from the buyer to the seller that they would present along with their offer, just not to communicate the terms of the offer, but kind of tug on those emotional heartstrings of the seller. So it's like, hey, pick me, pick me. So things that might be included in the love letter could be like, oh, I just am looking forward to raising my children in your home and making new memories. Or maybe somebody will say, oh, I want to move to the area so I can care for my aging parents. And so all those things all by themselves are really like super lovely things. It's not like there's anything wrong with wanting to raise a family or care for aging parents. But the thing is, when somebody chooses one buyer over another because of what's communicated in the love letter, the buyers who weren't chosen could turn around and say, hey, you're breaking fair housing laws, because there is things about familial status and the age of people. There's all sorts of reasons. There's a lot of things that fall underneath those fair housing laws. And so it's to protect you as the seller and also me as the agent if we don't pass those love letters back and forth between buyers and sellers. A lot of brokerages are cutting down on that. Right now, there's no law about it, but really to protect yourself, and again, talking about saving you from some liability, it's best if we don't take any love letters from buyers. Number 7 is pricing. Okay, so pricing in this market is a little bit of a challenge because I feel like the value of homes change almost weekly. And of course, a seller wants to maximize as much as they can get for their home, but you have to be really careful because if you overprice it or underprice it, we can have some issues. So let's talk about that a little bit. In this market, a lot of buyers mentally are prepared to go over list price, especially after they miss out on a couple deals. They realize, okay, I have to be way more aggressive in my offers and in some of my terms. So in this market, a lot of buyers understand, especially after they miss out a few times, that they have to be pretty aggressive with their offers, not just in purchase price, but in some of the terms. So they go, okay, they look at a house and they go, okay, I know I'm going to probably have to go over list price on these homes. But if you really price your house really, really high, people are going to look at that and go, oh my goodness, it's already priced high. I mean, it's priced way over market value. And then they assume you as a seller is expecting offers way over that. They're just not going to put in offers. I've had some buyers do that. They go, oh my gosh, this is too rich for my blood. I don't see how this is even close to being worth what they've got it listed for. So as a result, you can miss out on some really good offers. Now, there's also a thing too where you can go too low as well, because if you go really low, so let's say the market value of your house is around $500,000, the best we can figure out for the moment. But let's say you go, okay, I'm going to list it for $450,000 or $425,000. Yeah, you bet you're going to get unlimited showings, ton of offers, but it's so overwhelming. You're also going to get a ton of headaches too, because you're going to have all these people coming through your house and then more offers than you know what to do to go through. You know, it's a big deal if you get 50 or 60 offers. You only need one solid, strong offer. You don't need 50 offers. So price it well, okay? And that's, again, it's sort of it's both an art and a science to do that. And sometimes right now, it's harder to find that perfect number, but there are some things that you can do is be careful not to go too crazy one way or the other. So that's why it's really important for you to discuss this, have some good conversations with your agent to figure that out. So pricing, it's a tough one right now, but like I said, just be careful not to go too far one extreme or the other. And then the other issue with pricing as well is if your buyer is going to get a mortgage, the house still has to appraise. So, you know, let's say you got somebody who's willing to spend crazy money on the house, but you just know the house isn't going to appraise. It just isn't going to happen. So then it's all for nothing. Now, something that some buyers are doing right now is they're waiving all or part of the appraisal contingency, which means that, again, let's use our $500,000 number. So let's say the purchase price is $500,000 and the buyer is waiving the appraisal contingency. The house appraises for, let's say, $470,000. That means that buyer has to bring $30,000 cash to closing to cover that gap. Now, sometimes a lot of buyers say, you know what, I can't just leave it open-ended, because what if we get some, you know, wackadoo appraiser in there and they appraise it for even like really low, which sometimes that can happen. Then they're bringing $80,000 to closing instead of $30,000. So that can get out of control. So sometimes what a buyer will say is, okay, I will waive the appraisal contingency up to $20,000. So again, that $500,000 purchase price, if the house appraises for $480,000, they're bringing $20,000 to closing. If the house appraises for $490,000, they're bringing $10,000 to closing. Now, let's say the house appraises for $460,000. Well, obviously now there's $20,000 between the $460,000 and the $480,000. That's when we go back to the seller and say, okay, seller, you need to help out here too and drop the price some so we can make this work for everybody. And then, of course, if the house appraises for over $500,000, nothing special has to be done. Buyer gets it, all good. Okay, so to wrap this up, I hope that you as a seller realize that just because it's a hot seller's market and most likely you're going to be able to sell your house really fast for good money, there's a right and wrong way to do it, especially if you do want to maximize your profits. If you just need to dump a house, you don't want to do anything to it, that's one thing. But if you're willing just to do a little bit of extra work, think some things through, again, teamwork makes the dream work together with your agent to maximize everything. I think that's a great thing for everybody, including the buyers. And of course, like I said, working with a quality agent, somebody who's experienced, like myself, is definitely going to help with everything, because even though I've presented all these things to you, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of situation. Every home is different, every situation's different, everybody's budget's different, and what you can do, everybody's skill set's different. So talk about it with your agent to really make it work for you so you're not so frustrated. Now, if you're new to my channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Jill Thomas, and I've lived in Sarasota for over 30 years now, and I've been a licensed realtor for almost 14. Now, each week I do bring new videos here on YouTube about what it's like to live in the Sunshine State, of course, more about the Sarasota Bradenton market, and of course, I love to talk about real estate. So if these things have been on your radar, if this is something that's of interest to you, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell and keep watching those videos. And then when you are ready to ask questions, take it to the next level, if you need more experienced help, then give me a call, text, or email me. I'm here to help. Okay, guys, well, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, hit the like button, and you have a great day. Take care.